the small town of Maplewood, fall was more than a season. It was a time of celebration, mystery, and unease. Each October, the townsfolk prepared for the Harvest Moon Festival, a tradition that marked the end of the harvest season. However, an old legend loomed over the festivities, one that spoke of a cursed soul who returned every year to reclaim what was taken from her. Maya, a graduate student studying folklore, had come to Maplewood to research the festival for her thesis. She was captivated by the charm of the town, with its quaint houses adorned with pumpkins and cornstalks. But beneath the surface, whispers of the curse intrigued her. The story went that a woman named Eliza, who had lived in the town over a century ago, had vanished during the festival. They said she had been betrayed by those she trusted, and every year, on the night of the harvest moon, her spirit sought revenge. As the festival approached, Maya interviewed locals about Eliza. Most dismissed the legend, but some spoke in hushed tones. "You shouldn't take the story lightly," an elderly woman warned. "If you disrespect Eliza, she'd come for you." Determined to delve deeper, Maya decided to explore the old woods surrounding the town, where Eliza was said to have disappeared. As she ventured into the dense forest, the vibrant colors of fall surrounded her, but an unsettling chill crept in as shadows lengthened. After an hour of hiking, she stumbled upon a dilapidated cabin hidden among the trees. It was overgrown with vines, and the windows were shattered. Intrigued, she pushed open the creaking door and stepped inside. Dust motes danced in the dim light as she examined the remnants of a life long abandoned. Old furniture lay rotting, and the air was thick with the scent of decay. In a corner, she discovered a weathered diary. Its pages were yellowed, and the writing was barely legible. As she read, her heart raced. The entries detailed Eliza's life, her dreams of love, her fears of betrayal, and the ominous changes that swept through the town as the festival approached. The final entry sent shivers down her spine. "I can feel the darkness closing in. They are plotting against me. If I do not return to the festival, I fear I will be lost forever." Maya felt a wave of unease wash over her. She left the cabin, clutching the diary tightly. That night, the festival commenced, and the town buzzed with excitement. Colorful lights adorned the square, and laughter echoed in the crisp night air. But Maya couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. As the moon rose high, casting a ghostly glow over the festivities, she noticed a group of townsfolk gathered around a bonfire. They were chanting, their faces illuminated by the flames. Drawn in, Maya approached, her curiosity piqued. The townspeople wore masks, their features hidden, and they swayed rhythmically, lost in a trance. "What's happening?" she asked a nearby woman. "It's the ritual to honor Eliza," the woman replied, her voice eerily calm. "We must appease her spirit." Before Maya could question further, the group began to chant Eliza's name, their voices rising in a haunting melody. The air grew colder, and a gust of wind whipped through the square, extinguishing the nearby lanterns. Shadows flickered ominously. Suddenly, a scream pierced the air. The crowd parted, revealing a young woman, her eyes wide with terror. "She's here. Eliza's come for us." The woman fell to the ground, trembling, and chaos erupted as people ran in every direction. Maya felt an overwhelming urge to leave but found herself rooted to the spot, a strange compulsion drawing her closer to the bonfire. In the flickering light, she saw a figure emerge from the woods, a woman draped in tattered white, her hair wild and unkempt. It was Eliza. The apparition glided forward, her gaze piercing through the crowd, locking onto Maya. "You've come to learn my story," Eliza whispered, her voice echoing like a distant breeze. "But the truth is buried beneath their lies." Maya's heart raced. The legends had come alive. She remembered the diary's warning. Eliza sought to reclaim what was taken from her. As the spirit approached, Maya realized that Eliza was not merely a ghost. She was a manifestation of vengeance, fueled by years of betrayal. With every step Eliza took, the townspeople shrank back, fear etched on their faces. "You cannot hide from the truth," Eliza intoned, her voice rising with the wind. "They have wronged me, and now they shall pay." The chanting escalated, and Maya found herself caught between the living and the dead. She reached for the diary, desperate to understand how to stop the cycle of revenge. "Eliza," she called out. "What do you want? How can I help you?" Eliza paused, her expression softening for a moment. "I seek justice, but they have twisted my story. They must acknowledge their sins. Before Maya could respond, the townsfolk lunged toward the bonfire, shouting for Eliza to leave. The air thickened with tension, and a powerful wind spiraled around them, pulling at their clothes and stirring the leaves into a frenzied dance. In that moment, a vision flashed in Maya's mind, the townspeople standing together, united in their acknowledgement of the past. She understood that the only way to free Eliza's spirit and the town itself was to confront the truth. "Everyone, listen," Maya shouted, her voice breaking through the chaos. "You have to face what you did. Eliza deserves to be remembered." The crowd hesitated, confusion rippling through them. Then, one by one, they began to speak, recounting their own versions of the tale. They spoke of their ancestors' actions, the betrayal, and the fear that had turned Eliza into a legend. With each confession, the air grew lighter, and the shadows receded. Eliza's expression shifted, a mix of sorrow and relief washing over her face. "Finally, the truth is spoken," she said softly. "I can rest now." As the last words left her lips, the wind calmed, and the bonfire blazed higher, illuminating the night. Eliza's form shimmered, her features becoming less defined, until she finally dissolved into the air, leaving behind a sense of peace. The townsfolk stood in silence, the weight of history lifted from their shoulders. Maya felt a profound connection to the land and its people, understanding that some legends needed to be faced, not feared. In the days that followed, the festival changed. It became a time of remembrance, honoring not only Eliza but all the forgotten stories of the past. And as the leaves continued to fall, Maplewood began to heal, forever marked by the night when the truth emerged beneath the harvest moon. In the quaint town of Elder Hollow, autumn arrived with a cascade of vibrant leaves and a crispness in the air that signaled the change of seasons. As the harvest festival approached, the townspeople prepared for their annual celebration, a time for apple picking, pumpkin carving, and the haunting tales that whispered through the cool evening air. Yet, this year carried an unsettling tension, as the townsfolk spoke in hushed tones about the old orchard on the outskirts of town. Years ago, the orchard was the pride of Elder Hollow, known for its bountiful harvests and the sweet scent of ripening apples. But after a series of mysterious disappearances linked to the orchard, it was abandoned, left to grow wild and untamed. Rumors spread that the spirits of those lost still roamed the grounds, seeking vengeance for their untimely fates. Lucy, a graduate student visiting for the festival, had heard the stories and was captivated. A folklore enthusiast, she decided to investigate the orchard, hoping to uncover the truth behind the legends. Her friend Ethan, a local who had grown up hearing the tales, reluctantly agreed to accompany her. On a cool October afternoon, as the sun dipped low, casting golden hues across the landscape, Lucy and Ethan set out for the orchard. The path was overgrown, and the air thickened with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves. The trees loomed tall and gnarled, their branches twisting like skeletal hands against the orange sky. As they entered the orchard, an eerie silence enveloped them, broken only by the crunch of leaves beneath their feet. The trees were heavy with unpicked apples, their vibrant red skins glistening, almost inviting. Lucy felt a chill run down her spine as she glanced at the twisted branches, their shadows stretching like fingers reaching out to them. "Are you sure we should be here?" Ethan asked, glancing nervously at the dense thicket. "The stories are just that, stories. Or maybe there's some truth to them," Lucy replied, excitement in her voice. "This place has a history worth uncovering." As they ventured deeper, the atmosphere shifted. A cold breeze rustled the leaves, carrying a whisper that seemed to echo through the trees. Lucy shivered but pressed on, determined to find answers. They soon discovered an old wooden sign half buried in the ground, its letters faded but still legible. "Beware the orchard of lost souls." Ethan's face paled. "We should go back." But Lucy's curiosity was piqued. "Just a little further," she urged. They pushed through the tangled underbrush until they reached a clearing, where the remnants of an old farmhouse stood, its windows shattered and roof caving in. As they explored the decaying structure, Lucy found a dusty old journal on a rickety table. The pages were yellowed and fragile, filled with scrawled notes about the orchard, its harvests, and the strange happenings that had led to its abandonment. The last entry was particularly chilling. October 31st, 1923, the harvest moon is rising, and the spirits demand their due. We can no longer ignore the sacrifices we've made to this land. I fear we may be next. A sense of foreboding settled over Lucy, but she felt compelled to uncover more. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from outside, causing them both to jump. They rushed to the doorway, heartbeats racing. In the distance, they saw a figure darting between the trees. "Did you see that?" Lucy exclaimed. Ethan nodded, his face a mask of fear. "We should leave, now." But before they could turn back, the air grew thick with an unnatural stillness. The temperature dropped, and a low, mournful wail echoed through the orchard. Shadows danced along the trees, and Lucy felt an overwhelming sense of dread wash over her. Suddenly, the figure appeared again, closer this time, a woman in a tattered white dress, her hair wild and her face obscured. "Help me," she cried, her voice filled with anguish. "They took me. You must escape before it's too late." Ethan grabbed Lucy's arm, pulling her back. "We need to go. This is a trap." The woman's eyes, filled with desperation, pierced through the veil of fear surrounding them. "You don't understand. They're coming for you." With a primal instinct, Lucy turned to run, but the ground shifted beneath them, roots entwining around their ankles, holding them in place. The orchard itself seemed to come alive, branches twisting and pulling them toward the depths of the trees. "Fight it!" Ethan shouted, struggling against the grip of the roots. "We have to get out of here." Lucy closed her eyes, summoning every ounce of strength. The woman's words echoed in her mind. "You must escape." With a fierce determination, she wrenched her foot free, pulling Ethan with her as they sprinted back toward the entrance of the orchard. The wailing grew louder, an anguished chorus that filled the air, urging them to turn back. But they didn't stop until they burst through the edge of the trees, collapsing onto the ground outside the orchard's boundary. Gasping for breath, they looked back, their hearts racing. The orchard stood still, ominous and silent once more, the sun setting behind it in a blaze of crimson. But as they caught their breath, they realized the truth. They had not escaped unscathed. That night, as the harvest moon rose high, Lucy couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. In her dreams, she saw the woman again, her face twisted in sorrow and rage. "You must tell my story," she whispered. "They must know the truth." In the days that followed, Lucy pored over the journal, piecing together the history of the orchard and the disappearances. Each entry painted a picture of despair, revealing how the townsfolk had made a pact with the spirits of the land, sacrificing those deemed unworthy in exchange for bountiful harvests. Eliza, the woman in white, had been one of the victims, her fate sealed by betrayal. Driven by a sense of purpose, Lucy returned to Maplewood, determined to share Eliza's story. The townspeople were skeptical at first, dismissing the tales as folklore. But as Lucy recounted the history, something shifted. Eyes widened, and murmurs of recognition spread through the crowd. As the harvest festival began, Lucy organized a gathering at the old orchard, inviting the townsfolk to confront their past. She spoke of Eliza and the forgotten souls who had been lost to the land, urging the community to honor their memories rather than bury them. That night, under the glow of the harvest moon, the townspeople gathered in a circle, lighting candles and sharing their own stories. Lucy felt a weight lift as they acknowledged the darkness of their past, a collective release of guilt and fear. As they stood together, the air felt lighter, and the wails of the orchard faded into a distant memory. The woman in white appeared briefly at the edge of the clearing, a grateful smile crossing her face before she vanished into the night. The following morning, the orchard was quiet, but it no longer felt menacing. The townsfolk decided to clear the land, replanting it with new trees and dedicating it as a memorial to those lost. They vowed never to forget Eliza or the sacrifices made in the name of prosperity. Years passed, and the orchard flourished once more, a symbol of redemption and remembrance. And as autumn came each year, the townsfolk celebrated not just the harvest, but the stories that connected them to their past, ensuring that the souls of Elder Hollow were never truly forgotten. In the small, quiet town of Eldridge, the arrival of autumn marked the beginning of the harvest season. The fields surrounding Eldridge were rich with crops, and every year, the community came together for the Autumn Harvest Festival. This year, however, an undercurrent of fear rippled through the town, stemming from an unsettling incident that had occurred the previous fall. The legend of the harvest, which had gripped the townspeople since a series of strange events began to unfold. Last year, several residents had gone missing just days before the festival. Each disappearance was shrouded in mystery, with no signs of struggle and no clues left behind. The townsfolk whispered that the harvest witch, a figure said to appear when the leaves turned, was responsible, luring unsuspecting villagers into the woods with promises of riches and eternal life. As the festival approached, a young woman named Claire moved to Eldridge, seeking a fresh start after a tumultuous year. She was drawn to the town's quaint charm and vibrant fall colors, but the townspeople's hushed conversations about the harvest which piqued her curiosity. Intrigued by the legend, Claire began to dig deeper into the town's history, determined to uncover the truth. She visited the local library, poring over old newspapers and town records. She discovered that the first disappearance had coincided with the festival, and the locals had grown increasingly fearful over the years. The articles hinted at a dark history, a tale of a woman wronged by the townsfolk centuries ago, who cursed the harvest, claiming vengeance against those who had betrayed her. Determined to understand the lore, Claire spoke to an elderly woman named Agnes, a longtime resident who had witnessed the town's events unfold over decades. Agnes recounted how, as a child, she had heard stories about the harvest witch, tales that were meant to scare children away from the woods. They say she appears every autumn, searching for those who are greedy and selfish, Agnes warned. You must be careful, dear. The woods can be deceiving. Despite the warnings, Claire felt an inexplicable pull toward the woods, eager to uncover the truth. On the eve of the festival, she decided to venture into the forest, armed with her flashlight and a notebook. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting an eerie glow through the trees, the rustle of leaves echoing around her. As she walked deeper into the woods, Claire felt a strange sense of calm, as if the forest was welcoming her. She followed a narrow path, her heartbeat quickening with every step. The sounds of the festival faded away, replaced by the whispers of the wind and the crunch of leaves beneath her feet. Suddenly, she stumbled upon a clearing, its center dominated by a massive oak tree. The tree's gnarled branches reached out like skeletal hands, and a chill ran down Claire's spine. She noticed something glinting at the base of the tree, a small, ornate box. Her curiosity piqued, she approached and knelt to inspect it. As she opened the box, a gust of wind surged through the clearing, extinguishing her flashlight. Darkness enveloped her, and she felt an icy presence creep into the air. A whisper echoed around her, barely audible but filled with urgency. Find me. Set me free. Terrified, Claire scrambled to her feet, her instincts screaming for her to run, but the ground beneath her seemed to shift, pulling her back toward the oak tree. Panic surged through her as the whisper grew louder, more insistent. Help me. In her fear, she turned to flee, but the path she had come from had vanished, swallowed by the dense underbrush. The trees loomed like sentinels, their branches twisting into grotesque shapes as the whisper turned into a wail. You must help me, it cried, echoing through the woods. Desperate, Claire dashed through the undergrowth, her heart pounding in her chest. The forest felt alive, shifting around her, leading her deeper into its grasp. Shadows danced at the corners of her vision, and every rustle made her blood run cold. Just when she thought she might collapse from fear, she stumbled upon a small cabin, its windows dark and foreboding. She hesitated, but the wailing grew louder, echoing from the depths of the woods. With no other choice, she pushed open the creaking door and stepped inside. The cabin was musty and dimly lit, filled with the remnants of a life long abandoned. Dust covered every surface, and the air was thick with the scent of decay. On the wall hung a series of old photographs, sepia-toned and faded. Claire studied them, her heart sinking as she recognized faces missing persons from Eldridge. Suddenly, the wailing stopped, replaced by an eerie silence. Claire felt a chill creep up her spine as she turned to see a figure standing in the doorway. It was a woman, her long hair flowing like mist, her eyes hollow and sorrowful. Why have you come? The figure asked, her voice a haunting whisper. I'm trying to help, Claire stammered, feeling a mix of fear and sympathy. Who are you? I am the Harvest Witch, she replied, her voice echoing with sorrow. I was betrayed by those I trusted, cursed to wander these woods for eternity. I seek release, but the greedy hearts of this town keep me bound. Claire's heart raced as she realized the truth behind the legend. The witch wasn't evil, she was a victim, trapped by the very people who feared her. What do you need? Claire asked, her resolve hardening. How can I help you? the witch pointed toward the box Claire had found. Within that box lies my heart, stolen by those who wronged me. You must return it to the earth, beneath the oak tree where I was betrayed. Only then can I find peace. Without hesitation, Claire grabbed the box and rushed back through the woods, guided by the faint moonlight. The shadows shifted and swirled around her, but she pressed on, determined to complete her task. When she reached the clearing, she knelt before the oak tree, heart racing. With trembling hands, she buried the box beneath the roots, murmuring a silent prayer for the witch's release. The moment the box was covered, a brilliant light enveloped the clearing, illuminating the darkness. The wind howled, and the ground trembled as the witch's figure appeared once more, but this time her expression was one of gratitude. "You have set me free," she whispered, her voice filled with warmth. "Thank you." As the light faded, Claire felt a rush of warmth wash over her. The oppressive weight of the woods lifted, replaced by a serene calm. The wailing transformed into a gentle breeze, whispering sweet nothings that echoed through the trees. Claire returned to the town, her heart light. The festival was in full swing, laughter and music filling the air. She joined the townsfolk, sharing her story with those willing to listen. The legend of the harvest which began to change. She was no longer a figure of fear but a symbol of compassion and redemption. From that day on, Eldridge celebrated not just the harvest but also the spirit of the woman who had once haunted their woods. Claire found a sense of belonging in the town, and every fall, as the leaves turned golden and crimson, she would visit the oak tree, honoring the memory of the harvest witch, whose heart had finally found peace. Alright everyone, that brings us to the end of our story. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more content like this, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. And if you have similar stories you'd like to share with us, feel free to reach out. Thank you for watching, and until next time, take care.